Well, that was fun.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, like I said, Landon, that was a lot of fun.
It was fun. I said I was feeling 2 wins. We got 2 wins.
Yeah, you nailed it. I didn't have the faith, but you took us home on that one.
Yeah.
But let's kind of recap real quick. So 13-3 was the first game. Mercy rule, 8 innings is all it lasted. 1-4 was the loss on Saturday, and then Sunday ended off with a series win, 4-2. And so this is a team that has now won 5 of their last 6 games.
Yeah, they're starting to heat up. You know, we got to keep seeing. They got to keep stacking the wins, see if it's, they have turned the corner. But right. I mean, Alabama, I believe they were 12th in the country going into this.
Yeah.
Go into their house, take 2 of 3. That's big. That says a lot about this team turning it around. And one of the things I've mentioned a lot is the errors.
Yeah.
We're only 2 in this series, which still not great, but much better than like the 3 a game we were seeing
right
back when we started this. Both runs on Sunday were unearned, which is weird to me, but
yeah.
I haven't quite figured out the scoring on that one. But
well, it's funny you brought up the errors because this shows what kind of team this can be. We talked about early in the year, like this is not a hard fix to fix. They just hadn't been able to fix it for whatever reason, and it wasn't a hard thing to do. Well, they cleaned it up this weekend, and you just beat a number 12 team in the country who was, I think, like 28-6 or something like that to start the series, or 26-8. I can't remember which one it was, but regardless, it was a really good baseball team, and you went on the road and beat them because you cleaned up your errors, and really you dominated this series. I mean, we talked about the 13-3 Mercy rule in the first game. Yeah, you lost 1-4 in the second game, but you came back 4-2. I mean, it was just overall great series.
It was a great series. I mean, the bats were going in this series. I mean, obviously, when you score 13 runs, you're really putting on. But, I mean, they just were hitting so well. Pico is not as sharp as he has been in that first game. I mean, 4 innings, 3 earned, 2 walks, only 3 strikeouts. That's not really like him. So the fact that you still get a win when your ace isn't, your ace. But then, I mean, Stone Simmons came in. He locked it down. 4 innings of shutout with 5 strikeouts. I mean, he didn't need to be perfect, but he was pretty close to it when you got a 10-run lead. But
yeah, and the one thing that sucks about the second game, obviously, you start off with a leadoff home run, and you don't score the rest of the game in that one. But in the second game, again, you hit a 2-run home run in the first inning. Now, Alabama bounces back, ties it at 2 at the end of the 6th, but then you come back with 2 home runs in the 7th and 8th, and next thing you know, you're winning that series. So overall, I mean, again, it was just such a well-played series for Mississippi State. And, it was a massive win. And we talked about, if you can get some momentum here, I talked about just getting 1 win. Getting 2 was obviously massive. You've got some series here that you can gain some momentum. Now, that Kentucky series is looking a little more difficult after what they did this weekend to, I believe they played Texas this weekend. But still, I mean, Florida is a very winnable series. Auburn's a very winnable series. Then you obviously got Memphis. You got Kentucky, very winnable series. And so you can get on a run here and, like we said, contend for some postseason play.
Yeah, and if this is how you're going to play, you're a team that no one wants to play in the postseason because you just got to take 2 of 3. I mean, you don't have to sweep anybody then unless you lose the first one. But you just have to. And that was what was so frustrating about this team was they would be in games for so long and then would just make a few too many little mistakes and it'd get away from them. If they play
always the errors,
they play clean and the bats get hot, stay hot. This team is a tough out in a series.
Yeah, and going back to that, Kentucky, they beat Texas in 15 innings in the second game, lost the first 3-6, lost the second 4-5. Still, they played Texas very tough. So but still, they're a 19-14 baseball team, so you should win that series. We talked about Florida's record. We've talked about Auburn's record. Like, these are some series that you can start getting on a roll, and if you're Lemonis, you can start getting the fan base back on your side, and that's massive, obviously, for every coach to have that. but more importantly, you can get the boosters back on your side,
Yeah, it's pretty important with
yeah,
everyone calling for his job a couple weeks ago. I think,
including us.
well, yeah, we were, but I don't know if everyone's done with that. But the calls are getting a little quieter. If they keep playing like this, it's going to get a little bit quieter. Now, whether that's earned or not, that's a discussion for another time. This was a great series. I mean, it's really something you can build on. And like you mentioned, they've kind of come through the really rough part of all those top 10 teams. And now
Yeah.
you're a bunch of winnable series. I mean, that South Carolina series may have been what turned the corner. We asked the question then, we weren't sure. Now we have a little more evidence, and it's kind of looking like they may have turned the corner then.
Yeah, and I will say about Auburn, that series looked a lot easier about 2 weeks ago, really, when we were originally talked about it. But now you look at it, they took 2 of 3 against Alabama last weekend. Then they took all 3 from LSU this weekend. So now that Auburn, just when you thought you were going to start getting some lax play, that Auburn series now looks a little more interesting. But no, Kentucky is definitely a very winnable series, and then Florida is definitely winnable. And then you obviously have the midweek game against Ole Miss. You got a midweek game against Memphis. Ole Miss obviously is playing really good baseball right now, but Memphis is another one that you should be able to win. And if you're Lamonis, this is crucial because if you can get on a run and make the postseason, you might save your job. If you get a win in the regional and get to the super regional, you're definitely probably saving your job.
Yeah, if they make the super regional, there's no way you fire a guy who won a national title, just a few years ago. But maybe he's finally coaching like he's coaching for his job. Maybe that's some of what happened. And it's just so good to see the team finally playing to what you could see for like half of all those games and those little mistakes. When they're cleaned up, this is a very good team. And hopefully they stay with this cleaner, they're playing cleaner. The pitching was good. I mean, they had some great performances as a whole. I mean, I'll take pitching like that every week. If you 11 runs across an entire series, you do that, you give yourself a chance to win anytime you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, he would definitely save his job if he gets to a super regional. I'm curious if fans would still be on board because you still will have some that are like, yeah, but did you see how it started? But again, look how tough the SEC is. I talked about Kentucky taking a game from Texas, and I talked about Auburn and how they've kind of got hot recently. Vanderbilt's a very good baseball team as well. And then Ole Miss. Look at Arkansas this weekend, the number 1 ranked team. They lose the series. So you just never know what will happen in this conference, and so that's why when we say these are winnable series, we're not trying to say that these are guaranteed wins because they're not in this conference. They're just a lot easier than some of the series you've played up to this point.
Yeah, they are a lot easier, and hopefully you can continue this trend of taking 2 of 3. I mean, you'd love to work a sweep in there somewhere, but I mean, like we said, it's very hard to get a sweep in this conference. Especially with the way some of these teams are playing right now. But if you just keep getting 2 out of 3 and winning those midweek games, that kind of you use to get right and get things tuned up. I mean, you can go into the postseason with a ton of momentum, playing very good baseball.
Yeah.
See what happens from there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so coming up next, we kind of teased this. I believe it was on Friday's episode we teased this. Women's basketball got a big transfer addition. We talked about the men in depth on Friday, and now we have to talk about the women because they've been hurt worse than the men, arguably. So we got to talk about that. That's coming up right after the break. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money. Code Locked On College for half off your first year. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, so last week we obviously talked about a lot of transfer portal stuff and how the women's team has been hit bad. We talked about the men's team getting hit bad. The women's team got hit worse, but they did get some good news. They got Carissa Richardson. She's from Ole Miss. She played 3 seasons, 2 seasons at Ole Miss, 1 season at Auburn. She played 29 games last year, started 1, shot 40% from the field, 27% from 3, 77% from the free throw line, grabbed 1 rebound, and averaged about 4 points a game. She averages 5 points a game for her career. But it's not one of those like sexy pickups, like she's averaging 30 points or 20 points or anything like that. But when you're losing players left and right, and you're going to pull in a girl who, has started 34 games in her career, started 27 for Auburn as a freshman. And so she's at least going to be a key player either off the bench or, has starting experience.
Yeah, I think it's a good pickup. Like I said, it's not like a headline grabber, but she fills a need. And, when she was a freshman at Auburn, I mean, she averaged over 7 points a game. So that's very good for a freshman. And she also led that Auburn team in blocks with 24.
Yeah, she averaged almost 1 a game.
So, I mean, she has the talent. Now, exactly why she ended up kind of getting pushed out of the rotation a little bit in Ole Miss over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
that's probably something we'll never really know exactly what happened, but there's definitely some talent. She's 6'2", good size. So, I mean, I think it's a good pickup that's going to really fill a need on that for, either the 3 or the 4 spot on this team.
Well, that's kind of the crazy thing. She averaged 21 minutes per game. Like I said, started 27 out of 28 games at Auburn as a true freshman. And then, obviously transfers to Ole Miss. Then her numbers go to 15.8, only started 6 games. Then her minutes dropped to 10 minutes per game this past season. You usually don't see that happen after a strong freshman year. And so this is kind of the ugly side of the portal where a girl had a really strong freshman year and it looked like she was probably thinking, oh, I got a better opportunity at Ole Miss. Maybe she thought it was a better team, whatever the case may be. And it just didn't work out.
Yeah. It's really interesting why it didn't work out. Because, I mean, you see those numbers, you think, oh, 18-year-old doing that in college, that's great. An ascending player, plug her in. So maybe this is personality difference with that coach. Someone else transferred there that she wasn't expecting that kind of just jumped her on the depth chart. But, I mean, you see what she did at Auburn, which means you give her some minutes, she can put up some decent stats. And, these last 2 years at Ole Miss, maybe she's improved little elements of her game that given those minutes, that 7 points is now 11 points a game.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, if you look at her stats that first year at Ole Miss, I mean, she had a game of 16 points. She had the 21-point outing against Tennessee, which, Tennessee is a very good program. That was back on January in 2024. It's not like it was a long time ago. And, she had 15 or more minutes per game the first 11 games. And then after that, it was kind of sporadic. She dropped to 7 minutes. Then she went up to 22. Then she went down to 6. Then she went up to 24, 28. Then she played 2 minutes. I mean, it was just weird. And then that carried over into this past year where she just wasn't consistently getting minutes. And it's not, I'm not really sure why. Like the first game of the year is 5 minutes, then 15 and 14. Well, then 9 and 5, then 17, then 9, then 12, then 7. I mean, it was all over the place. She played 15 minutes and then 16 minutes and then played 5, 1, and 2 minutes. Like, it's just so weird. And maybe it was a coaching deal as to why she wanted to leave and they just didn't click. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really hard to know what to make of her situation Ole Miss with those wild minute fluctuations. And when she was given minutes, she produced. So
she did.
Wonder what's going on there. So hopefully we see a lot more of that 24 point or the 24 point game here when she gets to Starkville. But I don't know. Like, I like it on the surface, but how weird things went for at Ole Miss, it kind of makes you wonder, why.
Yeah,
and it tempers the excitement for what she could be because you see what she could be, but you wonder why she wasn't that.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, the 21-point game, that was in 18 minutes. and a big win, 80-75 win over Tennessee. She was 9 of 10 from the field. That obviously means when she's getting minutes, she is producing, like you mentioned, and it's just weird that you don't usually see a player's minutes fluctuate that much. You might see it fluctuate a little bit because you played an easy opponent, then you played a tough opponent, but not like that. Like that was all season. She would get 23 minutes and then 4 minutes, and then 28 minutes and then 5 minutes. It was just the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it really was. But right now, she's going to get some minutes on this team.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right now she's one of four other players on the team right now. I mean, it's
Yes,
not many.
which that was some good news. Destiny McFall did say she was staying. She came out
Yeah.
and said that she was staying, so that's someone we don't have to worry about leaving. So yeah, right now there are four, not including the incoming freshman, four
Yeah.
people on the roster. So that's
Yeah.
it's a tight rotation right now.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I searched up. It's kind of funny to search up rosters for next year because they're already on the official website, and I've seen some teams like Arizona Women's. If you search it, it's one player. That's it, one player. We saw Texas A&M's men's coach,
Yeah.
Bucky. What's his last name? I can't remember his last name, but he was saying how he was like, it was funny because I remember watching Cal the year before say, all right, let's go meet the players. And then there was no players. Well, he said the similar thing was, all right, I'm ready to meet the team. And they said, it's one player on the team. But looking at their roster, like you mentioned, it's four players, and that includes Richardson.
Mhm.
That's not like
She is not the fifth one.
she's not the fifth. So they can't even field I guess you could technically put four players on a court, but right now you can't put out a starting five.
No, and I mean, so she was very important to start getting some transfers into this building. I mean, there's still a long way to go from getting this team, back to where it was last year with being the tournament, winning that first game. Like that seems so long ago now. And it was just like 2 weeks ago that
Yeah.
they pulled off that win against Cal. And now we're just sitting here like, well, maybe they'll have enough people on this roster. Like,
Right. Right. And I've talked about how I don't like to really even think about the young freshmen because you just don't know.
right.
But they did sign a top 10 recruiting class this
Yeah.
past year. They signed 3 girls in the ESPNW Hoop Girls top 100.
Mhm.
So they've got some talent coming in. Obviously, you don't want to have to rely on them. All 3 girls on the team were in that top 100. So one was ranked, let's see, number 39, averaged 29 points and 13 rebounds a game in high school. The other one is ranked number 38, and the other girl is ranked, let's see if it says it anywhere, number 95. So you have, I mean, those are 3 highly touted girls on your team.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's great to have a top recruiting class. So I guess they got 7 on the
You got
team,
7.
technically.
Still a tight rotation.
Yes, but you don't want to have to rely on freshmen.
Yeah, so hopefully there's a few more people coming through the door soon. You probably, I mean, you need some more people, someone on the wing. You're going to need another backup center because none of the freshmen even are, someone that you can really rely on to be a center. You just have
Yeah.
the one on the roster. So you're going to want to kind of like the men's team. You need a big person. You
Yeah.
need someone
Yeah.
to go down low. You're going to need someone to fill that slot and probably another guard. But yeah, this is a good start. But again, got to kind of keep adding to it.
Yeah, you got to keep adding it, keep adding depth. You need starters on your team because you lost your whole starting 5, basically all 5. I believe you lost all 5.
I think
it's either all 5 or 4 or 5. So you've lost a good chunk of them, and so you got to replace those high quality players. But every team needs a good bench too. So getting Richardson obviously helps with that. The recruiting class, they're going to be asked to come in and contribute right away, and you don't like doing that, but that's just the reality of where Mississippi State is at this point. So we'll see what happens. All right, well, coming up next, we have the top dog of the week. Don't go anywhere. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first to listen every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. Like I said, Landon, we got our top dog of the week.
Yes.
Take it away.
Well, one of mine is a diamond dog. I mean, with the offensive output, I'm going with Sawyer Reeves. I mean, game 1, 4 hits, 4 RBIs. One of them was a home run, and then he had another home run in on Sunday's game to help win that one and win the series. I mean, a lot of the bats were going, but he's the one who really paced the offense this week.
Yeah, and I would have gone with him too. Obviously, I figured one of us would. I'm just gonna say he's our top dog of the week as a whole podcast. It has to be. But I'm gonna throw in a little sleeper that should get some love, and that's Chris Jans, because he obviously, we talked about it. He needed to make some splashes in the transfer portal. He got that with the big center edition. I believe we talked about that on Thursday's podcast. It was either Thursday or Friday. Go back and listen to that. That was massive. We also talk about the kid from Florida State, who Mississippi State is in big competition for. He's visiting on Tuesday. It looks like Mississippi State's one of the first 2 visits that he has on his schedule. So those are big transfer portal. One is definitely a addition, and one's a possible addition. And so, because of how necessary we said this was for them, I just have to give Chris Jans some love. And also, I will say this. By the way, Quincy Ballard was the Wichita State transfer that we talked about in depth, the center. I will say this also. It sounds like there might be a door open for Keyshawn Murphy to come back. He apparently was there when they hosted a transfer this past weekend. He's been in communication with Josh Hubbard. It sounds like it's at least a possibility.
Well, that would be huge. Getting him back in the building would be massive and would make, the center edition even bigger, because now you're not looking to fill another hole in that starting lineup, and that would just be huge.
Yeah, and you need that. And obviously, if you get him in the fold, you're now starting to shore up a team. And then if you obviously get Josh Hubbard back, which my feeling is, if Josh Hubbard, which we thought he was coming back anyways, if Josh Hubbard if he is at least talking to Keyshawn Murphy to try to get him come back, that sounds like a guy that's going to return next year. That's at least my thought process. I don't think he'd be talking to him about, hey, let's run it back, or even just talking to him about coming back, if it wasn't possible that he was coming back too.
Yeah, I mean, that seems very likely. He's unless something crazy happens in the draft, I think he's planning to come back. He's just, getting some feedback from it's really what it seems like. And hopefully he does talk Murphy into coming back.
Yeah. And Malik Ewan is the forward center that I was talking about from Florida State. He's 6'10", 220. Started all 30 games Florida State this year. Started his career at Ole Miss. Shot nearly 60% from the field. Averaged 7.6 rebounds and 14.2 points per game. So that would be another big addition. Now, would Ballard stay in the fold if he comes? Would he come with Ballard there? That will remain to be seen. But you get those 2 in the fold, then you possibly add Keyshawn Murphy back into the fold. That's a solid front court. Like, that is a really good front court.
Very good front court, a lot of experience. We talked about all of Ballard's experience, and then a guy who was a starter last year, Florida State. That would be huge.
Yeah,
so, literally and figuratively.
Right. Yeah, and we've been saying for so long, like, it's okay to take some of these losses. They're gonna happen in the transfer portal. You just lose some guys, but you got to start hitting some singles that eventually lead to runs. We talked about baseball earlier. We had to make a baseball analogy there. But you have to start hitting some singles, and that's what Ballard would be. That's what Ewan would be, or Ballard is. Ewan would be. Murphy would be if you can get him back. Although Murphy might be a bases clearing double or home run
Yeah.
given, how good he is and how familiar he is. But yeah, I had to give Chris Jans some love.
Yeah.
We haven't been critical because we know he's a great coach, but we've kind of put the pressure on. He's got to get going, and they're making some moves.
Yeah, they are. And hopefully baseball team keeps making moves too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we need this to be fun. We don't.
Yeah, we want to have fun, not the fun that Peter Griffin has, where he's throwing his golf clubs and this is fun. No, we don't want that. We want to have actual fun. But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. As your favorite collegiate players get ready for the next level, get the latest draft rankings, rumors, and news every day. Find Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Landon and I broke down every Mississippi State player that is eligible for the draft. I believe that was on Thursday. Kind of gave you a preview of where we think they could be drafted. So definitely go check that out. That was last week on Thursday. But yeah, I'm Jaron. Follow me on social media right there. Also on Athlon Sports, a lot of college football talk. Going to be a lot of NFL stuff coming up. Obviously, NBA playoffs are starting. So if you're an NBA fan, I write about that as well. Follow Landon and follow us. Landon right there is his social media on Twitter. Follow him. Obviously, follow Locked On at Mississippi State. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. We're on YouTube, obviously. We're posting videos on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter again. So get back to watching those. Like, share, subscribe, comment, tell all of your friends, all the fun stuff. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.